Hi everyone, welcome to Maximum Attack Rallying. We are running a little bit late with today's video. I know we'd normally have come out around 4 PM UK time. We had a little bit of a delay, but there was good reason for that delay. So I was ahead of the game. I'd recorded a video, I'd started editing it, and then I heard a little rumor that there was a press release coming, and I thought, you know what, let's stop. There's no point releasing what we've got. Let's wait, get all the info, and then I can bring you the full story. Better to bring you the full story than just more rumor. So, a couple of weeks ago, I brought you the news and some video that Peugeot were testing a new version of their 208. There were some little snippets that we'd gleaned about it, but we were still waiting. But now we have all of the juicy details, which is very, very exciting indeed. So, earlier this week, the French governing body, the FFSA, put out a teaser video for a new rally championship and just gave us a little bit more information about this 208. So it revealed that the car was not a Rally 6 car, as we expected, although you could argue that it kind of is, but Rally 6 is not an official FIA category. It is instead for the Trophy FR6, a new championship aimed at amateur and aspiring rally drivers in France. Very exciting. Perhaps not if you live outside France, but I still think it's very exciting. And I don't even live in France. It confirmed, this teaser video did confirm a few more little details about the car from the visuals. It showed us that the car does indeed have an H-pattern gearbox and that it was on road tyres, so that was interesting. But now we have all of the information which I'm going to run through. I'm going to keep looking down. I will do my best to look at you, but you'd rather have the information than see my face, wouldn't you? So we now know all of the technical details of the car, or nearly all of them, and we know that it is called the 208 Racing. So let's have a look at the spec. Firstly then, that H-pattern gearbox. Isn't it cool that it's got an H-pattern gearbox? I'm excited about that. So the press release, it's not actually complete information here. So the press release, I'm going to read it, just a few words of it. The press release states, standard 6-speed manual gearbox with short ratio. Now that suggests to me, the use of the word standard, suggests that it might actually just be the factory 6-speed manual with a shorter final drive. I suspect there is probably a limited slip differential in there of some kind, but again, I haven't seen anything of that in the press release. But I'm thinking, yeah, maybe just a short final drive in the 6-speed, standard 6-speed manual. So that's interesting, and I like that, keeps costs down. Other things, the engine, as you would expect, is the 1.2 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged PureTech, I think it's called, isn't it? So that's used in the 208 road cars. It's used in my 208 road car. Comes in 100 horsepower and 130 horsepower trims in the road car. This application has an aftermarket ECU, which apparently gives 145 horsepower. So not massive, but it's okay, isn't it? Interestingly, there is a line in there saying, depending on version, so there might be a little bit more. I'm not too sure about that. Also, an interesting little fact is that it will apparently be running on E85 fuel. That is designed to reduce emissions, apparently, but also costs, because apparently E85 is cheaper in France, which I didn't know. So that's quite interesting. There's not too much information about the suspension. But it does say that it's all the suspension steering brakes is based on the standard road car, so I suspect the suspension arms and things and the brake calipers and stuff will be standard, but you'll have upright brake pads, no doubt, maybe some suspension bushes in old style Group N fashion. What else have we got in here? As we've seen in the previous videos, it has steel wheels, which is a nice little throwback to the old 205 106 Rally. I keep saying interesting, don't I? This is an interesting one. It will use Michelin Pilot Sport PS5s, so no slicks or knobblies here. Interesting that they've decided to use road tyres. Again, that's a cost-cutting measure. Speaking of cost-cutting, one area where they haven't skimped is the electronics. This surprised me a bit, maybe a bit of a shame, but I do see where they've done it. So we've got an XAP digital dash. We've got a glimpse of that in the video earlier in the week. There's a power distribution model, so it looks like the standard wiring and ECU has been thrown away. I suspect that is just an easier way of bypassing all the driver assistance systems on the road car rather than trying to switch those off. So I guess that's why they've done that. It's a little bit of a shame, but I see why they've done it. The body shell itself as well, that's another area where they have not cut any corners. So it has the same roll cage as the 208 Rally 4 and by extension the Opel Corsa and the Lancia Ypsilon. I get it, again, you know, safety is a big priority, isn't it? And you've got a solid foundation there with the welding cage. maybe a bit of a shame. I think I have this dream of rally cars being based on road cars and someone being able to build one of these cars at home. Called me old-fashioned, but it would have been nice to see that, but it looks like you're not going to be able to do that. So that's a bit of a shame, but I do get it. And like I said, it's a solid foundation. The cars will be safe. So that's kind of the spec in a nutshell. And the cost of all this entry-level loveliness, well, that is 38,900 euros, including VAT. That is apparently ready to go and registered. That's a lot of money. I know a lot of you will watch this and be like, oh my God, that's horrendous. It's not as bad as you might think. It's a good chunk cheaper than a Rally 5 car. It's probably 10, 12,000, I think, less than a Rally 5 car. In fact, in my view, this is what Rally 5 should be. I think it was a mistake. You know, if you look at R1 in the old days, which was the Twingo Fiesta, when it was 1600s, it was very similar to what this car is. You know, the concept was very similar. And I think it was a mistake when we switched to Rally 5 to then allow sequential gearbox and things. I don't know why we did that, because it just made the costs go up. And it kind of meant that a lot of people probably skipped it and just went straight to Rally 4. So for me, this should be the model for Rally 5. But there we are. If you do want one, like I said, I understand why you might think it's expensive. But actually, if you look at it in terms of with inflation, these cars probably aren't that much more probably aren't any more expensive, in fact, than you would have paid for a Ford Ka Challenge car in the 90s. I think they were about £10,000 to buy a road car. The kit was about £10,000. And by the time you added labour, and inflation, I think you'd probably be in the same ballpark. And obviously this car is going to be way, way more capable. So yes, if you want one, the order books open today on the 17th of October, and the first deliveries are expected in February next year. So get ordering if you want one. If you can't afford one, well, I know something you might be able to afford, and that is some merchandise from the Maximum Attack Rallying website. You can get t-shirts like this one that I'm wearing here, and lots of other interesting things, so go and check that out. I'm not going to bore you too much about it, but do have a look at that. Let's also just have a little look at the championship itself in France, because I think that is definitely worthy of consideration, and maybe a little rant as well. So what is the Trophy FR6? Well, it's all about accessible, affordable competition. The word accessible appears many times in the press releases from the FFSA and from Stellantis. Yes, so basically the structure is very, very simple. As I understand it, there will be 6 qualifying rounds broken into regions. So you'll have different regions of France, 6 qualifying rounds. Your best 5 scores count, and the top scorers will get the chance to go to the final of the French Rally Cup in Lissau. If you're French and I butchered that, I'm really sorry. So that's interesting, isn't it? A nice little kind of feeder competition through to a final. There are 2 categories. You've got one for drivers aged under 25. The winner will win a steering wheel. That's a very bizarre Google translation. So basically, whoever wins the junior, the under 25 category, they will win the chance to compete in 4 rallies in 2026 with a Rally 4 car as part of the Stellantis Motorsport Rally Cup in France. That's good, isn't it? 4 rallies in a Rally 4 car. And then for the expert, which is for the more senior drivers, age 26 and over, they will get a round of the 2026 French Rally Championship in a Rally 4 car. That sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Like I said, 4 rallies in a Rally 4 car for the juniors. That's a good prize. And it's that prize that's going to make me rant a bit, I'm sorry. I've got a question. Why is it that the FFSA are so good at promoting drivers? They're so good at offering opportunity for youngsters. Why is it, in fact, why is it that countries across Europe have one-make championships based around modern, affordable cars? You've got a Dacia or a Dacia championship in a couple of countries. You've got, I can't remember what it's called in Spain, there is a championship for entry-level versions of the 208 and the Opel Corsa. The championships like this exist across Europe. Motorsport UK, I'm looking at you here. I'm looking at you over in Bicester. Where's ours? Where's the UK's affordable rally championship using modern cars? Where's the British feeder series? Why are we still relying so heavily on people having enough money to run a Rally 2 car, or on people just using super expensive Mark II Escorts and Vauxhall Novas? What are we doing here? Don't you think that there might be a reason that 2 blokes called Sebastian have dominated the WRC for the last 2 decades? Might it not be something to do with initiatives like this? It's just, it's so frustrating. If this news tells us anything, it's just that British rallying is so far behind the times when it comes to juniors and breeding talent. You know, how long are we going to dine out on the success of Colin McRae and Richard Burns? That was more than 20 years ago, 23 years ago that Richard won the title. You know, nearly 30 years ago that Colin won the title. You know, where's our next champion coming from? You know, Elfyn Evans, he can't do it on his own, can he? It's just so frustrating when you see this. You know, all credit to Stellantis and to the FFSA for what they're doing, but it's just frustrating, isn't it? Where is the British version of this championship? Anyway, I don't want to rant. I don't want to rant. I have just spent like 3 minutes ranting, but I'm going to stop because I want to be positive. I really like this car. I really like the concept of this car. Like I said, for me, this should be the basis of Rally 5. We should get rid of the sequential gearboxes, go back to keeping it simple. I think this car looks great. I think the steel wheels look great. I think it's a perfect opportunity for Peugeot to release a 208 Rally road car. I think that would be fantastic. You know, throw the steel wheels onto a 208 GT road car with some nice little stickers. I think that would be a really fun little thing to do, wouldn't it? So yeah, massive credit. I love the way they do things in France, the way that they develop young drivers, the opportunities they offer. They've got a thriving rally championships with Rally 5 Clios and Rally 4 cars. There's so many opportunities for youngsters in France, and this is just another example of that. So, so good. When do I get a go? Peugeot, I'm coming at you. I want to try it. When do I get a go on one of these cars? I really, really want to go. Can't wait. If they say yes, which they probably won't. See you next time.